Hello, a very warm welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Contact Live Golf. My name is Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello, everybody. Steve, how are you?
I'm all right. Happy New Year to you.
And to you, and to you.
Yeah, I always get a bit wary about saying Happy New Year, particularly when the first time you meet someone is in midway February and you say Happy New Year. But we're the first week in January, so we're okay at the moment. So
it's still safe to do.
That's it, of course. Now, this is live. It's a podcast all about junior golf. So it's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. We're here to help juniors, parents, relatives, golf clubs, golf unions, golf companies, basically anyone associated with the game. We're going to put together a series of episodes discussing various aspects of junior golf. We're going to have some special guests on. Some of the biggest names in the sport, some lesser known ones as well, but people basically who are out there. Yeah, there's one. Yeah.
The lesser known.
That's it. Yeah. But people who can help grow the game of golf, this game that we all love for the next generation. So it's a pretty simple format. We're going to go through some of the golf news, which is happening in junior golf. And then we're going to have special guests on, and we're going to have a chat with them about various aspects and about what we can and can't do to promote this wonderful game.
We certainly are. And Steve, actually, it's a bit of a twist, this one, isn't it? Because you are the special guest today.
Yeah, we did say we were going to start with some lesser name ones, didn't we? Yeah. So.
They couldn't get any lesser names than Steve Jackson and Ian Waterhouse, could they? Yeah.
Absolutely, yes. But first of all, obviously, we need to do a little bit on junior golf news. Obviously, we are the first week in January, so it's probably best just to have a brief look back at 2021 and also over Christmas as well to see what's happened in the world. Now, I don't know if you're aware of this, Ian, but over the last, I don't know, perhaps 18 months, 2 years, there's been something like a bit of a virus. I think it's named after a lager or a beer or something like that. I don't know if you're aware of it.
Carlsberg.
No, that's a Carlsberg virus. That's it. Yeah. Now, obviously, that has affected the world. We're all well aware of exactly what's going on and everything. But in a weird and funny way, the golf industry's done pretty well out of it, as well as you can do, in the sense of it's one of the few sports where you can still play it. There was that period whereby they closed golf courses down in 2020 initially, and then of course early last year last year, we are now into the new year, early last year. But generally speaking, junior memberships and golf memberships in total have gone up. So in theory, we're probably in about as good a place as we've ever been, certainly in recent years, as far as junior golf is concerned. Having said that, now, how do I word this in a nice way? The golf industry is more than capable of screwing this up. So that's where we come in the sense we're going to try and help golf clubs and unions and people like that about how to promote the game and make it better and making sure that those new members that we have had in the last 18 months or so stay in the game, love the game, and continue to play. And that's what we're here for.
It's a long-term future of sport, isn't it? And it's golf was the very first sport that came back. I remember doing 2020 Pro Tour, Chris Hansen and Adam Walker as well, up at I think were we at Croston Heath or Cleckheaton? I think we might have been. Very first event back, and it was huge, absolutely huge. And golf's had this amazing opportunity, and so far it's taken advantage of it. But like you said, it's like anything. Now it's about retention. It's about keeping people and getting the next crop through. And junior golf is the best place to start.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, so just look at some of the events which took place last year as far as junior golf is concerned. The Faldo Series, which is an event which I know that you've worked on very closely over the last year or so, and I have as well. That has gone from good fields to very good fields to ridiculously exceptional fields.
It's elite field, isn't it? Now it really
absolutely
is elite.
I mean, whereas I think it was 2020 they had 220 odd playing in Wales. The first event last year at Brocket Hall, 350 odd players playing in it, which is just incredible. But they're not the only one. Lots of other junior tours have had very similar things as well, in the sense of record fields. The British Junior Golf Tour, another popular event, that had biggest field, 155 players playing in one of their events. The Robert Rock Junior Golf Tour, that's had over 100 players playing in their events as well. So So it's not just a one-off thing. There are plenty of events out there whereby the numbers are going up, the amount of players who are playing golf is going up. But there are some out there as well which people may not be quite so aware of. And there are different types of events as well. As you mentioned there, the Fowler Series is your more elite golfers. That's where your top young players go and play. Whereas there might be some tour events out there which are for young golfers, perhaps ones who've only just started out, might be their first ever competition. So there's different events for different types of players. And the beauty about it is there are so many opportunities out there for people to play golf, though.
And we must stress as well, even away from competition golf, just clubs have their own academies. A large bulk of them have their junior academies as well. Aaron Cox, I know we'll probably get him on as a guest at some point. His academy up at Blackwell Grange, he's got 300 kids playing golf up there. It's absolutely fantastic. And that's where it starts, isn't it, Steve? It's wonderful having these tournaments and these opportunities to stay in the game long term and compete with your peers. But you've got to start somewhere. You can't go straight into English under-18 championships, can you, or something like that. You've got to start somewhere. No,
absolutely, yeah, and also the Progress Junior Golf, which has been set up to help clubs and things like that. That incorporates things like the coaching and how to get, when people come into the club, to make them feel more welcome, you see, and things like that. Competitions form part of that. And those competitions which we mentioned there are the ones which are outside the club, but also within the club as well, whereby, you want people to be made feel welcome and stay in the game. That's the key, because we've got more players playing. Let's keep them there.
And there's a lot of talented young players, isn't there? Irish Junior Open Tour, Steve. Tell me about John William Burke. Tell me about him.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was a story which just happened over Christmas, New Year. There had a couple of events over in Ireland. The Irish Junior Open Tour was one of the biggest junior events or junior tours over on the other side of the Irish Sea. And there was a young lad there who played 18 holes and shot 59, which is not bad going, to say the least. It included a hole in one.
Look at that. There he is.
Yeah. It included a hole in one on a par 4 hole. It also wait for it. It also included two, not just one, 2 eagles on par 4 holes. So pretty special. Well done to his name, John William Burke. I'm going to get the pronunciation of his club wrong, so I apologise straight away now. But I think it's Ballyhownes Golf Club. So congratulations to him. Well done. Has to be said as well. We must mention they were playing off forward tees. So 59, yes. So it wasn't playing off a par 72 course, 7,000 yards or anything like that. It was shorter than that. But
he's 12. He's 12. I couldn't shoot 59 if you put me on the green every hole.
Well, I could do if it was 9 holes.
Yeah,
or possibly on a pitch and putt or something like that. But no, you're right. I mean, well done.
Crazy golf, mate. Crazy golf.
Absolutely. So great start to the year for him. There was another story which I saw as well last year as well, which was an incredible one, which was at the British Par 3 Championship. I don't know if you're aware of that. It takes place at Nelcott Hall. I've played on 2 or 3 occasions. Really fantastic event. And there was a young lad there, 14-year-old named Will Bailey, and he managed to get 2 hole-in-ones on the first 2 holes of the tournament, which is pretty good going. So congratulations to him.
Do you know what the odds of that is? Do you know what the odds are for that?
I actually do. Are you going to tell me differently? Because I actually checked this out.
Well, you tell me first, and I'll tell you if you're right.
Well, I think it's 39 million to 1.
Yeah, absolutely spot on. Well done.
The reason why I know is because I did a feature on a young lad, or this would have been about 15 years ago, who got 2 hole-in-ones on the same hole on the same day. So I rang up a bookmakers and said, like, what odds do you give on this? And he said, well, it's this. He said it's about 39 million to 1. So I said, how about if we make it 40 million? He went, okay, let's say 40 million then. So I did a story called the 40 million to 1 kid. And
the bookmaker accepted that. Normally you go to a bookmaker and they think it's 39 million to 1. They'll give you 10 to 1.
Well, that's it. Yeah. Well, yeah. But they didn't give me a pound on it because obviously they knew it had already happened. But there you go. So But yeah, so that was obviously, look, hole in ones are different because obviously you don't know how long the hole is. I think this was about 160, 70 yards, something like that, because obviously it was playing as a par 4 for them as well. So it wasn't like a 90-yard chip or anything like that. This is
We're getting a driver out in for 169.
Yeah, that's it. So I'm talking about so I got them mixed up there. The lad who got the 12-year-old over in Ireland, that was 170 yards. The two at Nailcott, I think they're around about 115 yards. But let me tell you though, they are not easy holes. In particular, the first hole, because the green is like almost like an upturned saucer. So he did well there. Now the second part of this story as well. So he gets a hole in one on the first hole and the second hole. His playing partner gets a hole in one on the second hole as well.
Yeah, Pavan Seguin, and it makes you sick, that, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah.
I've never had a hole in one in my life. Never even got close. Wow.
Am I allowed to point? Hole in one?
Well done.
Shall I tell you where it was?
Go on in.
On a golf simulator, but I'm claiming it. Thank you.
That does not count. It
does. Yeah.
Anybody, comment below. Does that count as a hole in one if it's on a simulator? No way in my book. No way. Remember, we can see the comments as well, so do get them in. If you've got a question for Steve at any time as well, please do comment below. If we don't pick them up in the show, we will see them afterwards and Steve will reply. So please do get your comments in. And also tell Steve that it's completely wrong for trying to claim a simulator hole in one. That is not allowed. That is a question. And I'm afraid, Steve, from me, it's you've never had a hole in one, mate.
Well, I can. Well, the beauty about having a hole in one in a simulator is the fact that I could play it for the next 15 minutes to anyone who wanted to see it, which I did. So
listen, I've had a hole in one on Jack Nicklaus Golf on the Amiga in 1992, so it just doesn't count, you know.
Well, okay, fair enough. So apart from that, I've had no hole in ones. So there you go. So congratulations to Ian and also to his playing partner as well for 2 hole in ones on the same hole on the same day, which is pretty incredible. So the other one which you also mentioned as well, a young golfer which you may be aware of, not in this country, but a young lad.
I think I know where you're going with this. Yeah.
I forgot what his dad's name is. I think Charlie Wood is the name of the lad.
I think he's got a famous dad, hasn't he? He plays a bit. You know, I think he's won a few like low key PGA Tour events. I think
that's it. Absolutely, yeah. But watching him, you know, in the event on the PGA Tour, I mean, that was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, fair amount of pressure on the lad because he's going to have to live with that because, you know, at the end of the day, his dad's Tiger, you know. So, but he showed.
He dealt with it well, though, didn't he? I tell you what, he's got nerves of steel, that lad.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you put a tweet out of the viewing figures for the event, which was astronomical. Yeah. The amount of people who wanted to watch that.
The viewing figures for that, for Tiger Woods and Charlie Woods playing, PNC, wasn't it? The PNC Championship. Yeah. I mean, realistically, it's not exactly the Masters, is it? Really, you know, it's quite way down the pecking order. However, it had more views than the Open, than a major. Probably actually, Steve, a question for everybody as well. Where do you stand? Which is the more high-profile event, the Open or the Masters? That's the question, because I was just about to say. So the Open, you know, I mean, we're talking here the Open, you know, the second largest event.
Yeah.
I don't know. I know I should say the Open. I can't help but think the Masters probably is the top major. What does everybody else think? Tell us, comment below. Masters or the Open, which is the bigger event? I think it's the Masters personally. Don't shoot me, don't hate me.
The other thing to mention about the Masters as well is they also have now a junior event which takes place before the Masters as well. So that gives it's an elite event whereby, you know, only the very best of the best pros play in it. So great the fact that I think it was only about 3 or 4 years ago they first started it up. So that's a great opportunity for some of the better boys and girls to go and play in that event and play a course which I think is on most of our tick list of courses we want to play. Certainly for myself anyway. So and of course the Open you mentioned there, that's at St Andrews this year as well. So what a great year we've got coming as far as live golf is concerned. We'll talk about live junior golf next week. I've got someone to talk to about that who might know a little bit more about covering live junior golf. But
interested to watch that.
Yeah, well, we did mention about there's going to be some big celebrities on, so we'll hold fire with that one, and we'll let people know about from
the third episode onwards.
That's it.
Big focus for the third episode onwards. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. But yeah, so that's the news really. So that the idea now is let's try and look forward now to what we've got coming up. Hopefully, it's going to be another big year. There's a lot of the big tours out there have started putting out their schedule about what events they've got coming up. So we'll be keeping a close eye on what happens, looking out for those quirky, interesting stories about the boys and girls playing in these events, and we'll get it to you on the podcast. But now it's time for the major interview then.
Well, before we do that, actually, Steve, as you can see, I've been talking all throughout this podcast so far, saying if anyone's got a question, comment below. As you can see, it's all there on the screen right now. Get your questions in. We have had a couple of come in from Twitter, wherever you're watching as well, by the way. We are live on Twitter, LinkedIn, we're even on Twitch. If there's any Twitchers out there, Live Sport Now, check it out. We're on Facebook, YouTube at Live Sport Now. Don't forget you can watch live golf in 2022 on Live Sport Now as well. Sorry, Steve, I just had to get a little plug in there.
Go for it. Yeah.
I've had a couple of questions come in. And first one is actually, it's very hard hitting, but I think actually it's a very good question. Do clubs, senior members, generally care about the lack of juniors at certain clubs?
Yeah, I think it's an important question, and you can kind of look at that in two ways. So let's take the big word out for a second. Do clubs care about the lack of juniors at certain clubs? Genuinely care. That's the most important point of that question, I think.
Yeah, not just care about the bottom line.
That's it. Yeah, because they can serve lip service to it, and they can say, yeah, we care about juniors and things like that. I genuinely think that they do care, because I think most clubs realise that if they don't do anything about it, then they're going to struggle for years to come. But there are certain clubs which care about it more. There are certain clubs which put more effort into promoting junior golf. But they have different priorities, because there are clubs out there which have, let's say, for example, you've got a club out there which has got, 1,000 members, you're fully paid up. You have to look after those 1,000 members. If they're paying, whatever they're paying, big membership fee, they've got to make sure that they're looked after, they stay as members. And like I say, up until perhaps 2 years ago, memberships were struggling, numbers were down. Clubs really had to make sure that they got the money coming in. And with the greatest respect, and the problem with, in a nice way, junior members is that it doesn't bring in a lot of money. It brings in a lot of money 10, 15 years down the line. If you can get them in, you keep them, they become your members in years to come. And unfortunately, there are some clubs which are a little more short-sighted than others, and some of them which are more, they see the bigger picture. Now, you have to cater for both of those. And my genuine thought is, yes, I think there are clubs out there who need to do more. I think there are some out there who do a great job. And we will be talking to some of them over the next few weeks or so, months, and getting their ideas about how they do it, what they've done, what's been successful, what hasn't been successful sometimes. So my answer is that I do think they care, but I think there's a lot of work which needs to be done. I actually know the person who asked the question, and I actually know the club that they're talking about, and I do know that there are people there who do care, but there's issues. Yes.
Yeah. I can tell you something.
They're working on it.
Don't say which club it is, of course. Some clubs, I can't speak for all clubs, but some clubs I've seen that do it incredibly well. As I've mentioned before, Aaron Cox at Blackwell Grange, incredible. And we talk about investment. When you've got 200 or 300 kids coming through the door, and then the parents are dropping off and the parents are coming in, it does make a huge difference to the financial bottom line at their age now. So the opportunity is there. Another club who do it very well is Farnham Golf Club, just up the road from me. Luke Bone is the head pro up there. They do an incredible job with juniors. Lottie Woad came through the ranks at Farnham, of course, still a junior herself, but very, very, very talented, going to big things as well. So there's blueprints out there of how to do it, and how to do it well, and how to do it properly, and to make the club money and keep juniors in the game for the long term. So should we not be going to these clubs and saying, what are you doing right, and how can we replicate that across the country?
And sometimes it's just simple things whereby if you hold an event there, you show them what the potential is and how things work. You'd hope that someone goes, hold on a second here, what did they do right that we've not been doing? Or
100%.
I mean, I'll give you a simple example here. I work with Warwickshire Golf Union, and I organised their Junior Order of Merit this year, and we had a grand final at Coventry Golf Club. Coventry got a great junior section there, really, passionate junior organiser. They said we'd like to host the grand final. Obviously, snap their hands off. Of course, yeah, we'd love to come there. But no one had told the bar staff that what we were doing is we were doing a presentation afterwards. Every player who qualified for the grand final was going to get a prize. We were giving them food. No one had told the bar staff that. They just thought, okay, we'll get the kids, we'll be serving the kids. They forgot that there's 45 kids. There's also 45 parents there. So the amount of money that they made through the bar, through the parents buying drinks, because they were all sat there eating the meal. We did a big presentation, so therefore they were there for a little bit at a time. They actually made more money at the bar than they would have done. And obviously, bearing in mind, this was in September. And obviously, you were getting towards the point whereby we were struggling here, making money in clubhouses. Suddenly, they made so much more money out of that junior event than they did at any other point during the year. A very similar experience earlier in the year that I organised an event at Wellingborough Golf Club where we did a barbecue. It was a beautiful bank holiday Monday, organised a barbecue, and it went down like a storm because for once, they actually had people in that clubhouse who were not just the kids, but the parents as well. And sometimes they forget the fact that kids have to be driven to golf courses. Just simple things like that.
I've been saying this for a long time. I've been saying this on the number of tours that we work with. The clubs need to get behind it too. Faldo Series, for example, you've got hundreds of kids coming through. What an opportunity that is for the club to sell sandwiches or to make extra revenue. It doesn't just have to be golf income. It can be bar revenue. You can treble it. You can quadruple it. You've got the Faldo Series grand final coming, or you've got a Faldo Series event, or you've got a British Junior event coming to your club. It should be an event. It should be a huge thing. You've got the next big names of golf coming through. Really got to push it, make something of it.
And there's one thing which we'll come to, and we'll probably do a podcast on this, whether it's in the next few weeks or so. The media side of it, from a media side of it, is how do I word this in a nice way? We as the media care more about juniors than we do about adults. So if there's a story, let's say a newspaper, if they see a good story about a kid, a boy or a girl doing really well, whether it's golf, whether it's any sport, whether it's anything really, that will get in the paper. Whereas an adult one, they might go, oh, really? Do we put that in or not? So just simple things like this. Suddenly when you stick a photo in it, and suddenly instead of having 3 lines in a newspaper, you've got half a page. Your golf club gets free publicity just by you holding a junior competition, having a nice little junior story. Even if you have, something happens to your club, your junior does something, let your local media know, and they'll lap it up. They love it, And if it means they don't have to pay for it, better still.
Well, I've got a story about a local media paper. I was doing an event. I won't say where. It was a junior event. It was a junior tournament. And I contacted the local rag, shall we call them, newspaper. And I said, look, I can broadcast it to your page. For those who don't know, Contact Live Golf, we broadcast live golf. And so I said, if you want, you can have the live coverage on your social media channels if you want. Right? Free of charge. I'm not going to charge you for it. It's got free of charge. It's local. It's literally your area. And you can show everybody the very best junior golfers in your area playing live golf for free. So they came back to me and they said, oh, thanks for this, Dean. It sounds like a really, really good idea, really interesting idea. In order to access our social media channels and promote this event on it, we normally charge, I think it's like 400 quid for the day, but as it's short notice, we'll do it for 300 quid. I was like, hang on, you want me to pay you? I'm the one going out filming it and providing the live coverage for you and doing everything. And then you want me to pay you? I was like, no, that's not what I meant. Not when I have relationships with wonderful partners, such as Golf Monthly Magazine and National Club Golfer and Today's Golfer. I was a bit like, nose a bit out of joint there. I was like, hang on, we're trying to promote your area here. We're trying to make you look the very best you can be. And sometimes that's the issue I think clubs might have with the local media. They sometimes talk a good game but don't come up with the goods.
Yeah. Well, I hope that's an exception. My experience of
I hope so.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I have worked with some papers and they've been fantastic, I have to say. So I might just caught somebody on a bad day. But
I mean, my local newspaper is absolutely brilliant. But then I know the person who writes all the golf for them. So
SJ. So
That's it's also known as
Right, Steve, I've got another question. We digress as you always do with these things, don't you?
Yeah.
Right, another question for you. Why is there not more emphasis on promoting a junior section with a junior captain? Good question.
Yeah, and the junior captains are captains of golf clubs are important people because they for a year they're the ones who, if you like, control how a club works. They control some of the things which they like to do, they do the charities and things like that. The junior captain has less of an influence, and that's where some, perhaps, I don't know how much influence a junior can have. That's the thing. But what they can do is they can be there, make sure that, I'll give an example. There's the golf club I was talking to recently. I won't say the name of the golf club, but their junior captain said that, I did an interview with her and she said, I just want to make sure that there's people who turn up for the junior coaching and play for our junior team and play in our junior competitions. And they're like, well, what more do you want from your junior captain? There you go. That's the person who is trying to talk to the rest of the kids at your club and saying, come and, join in with what we're doing, and they were very complimentary.
So how long then, Steve, would somebody be a junior captain for? Obviously, you've got a captain of the golf club. They're there for the year. They are captain. But what about a junior? I mean, could you not have like a rolling captain, like football, for example, man of the match award? Congrats, you played really well this week. You're captain for this week. Do you know what I mean? Could you do that in golf? Because it's not quite like football, where it's not such a team sport, golf, is it? So could you not have that?
I don't know. I mean, it's difficult in golf. I mean, they have such set rules. I'll tell you a story about one golf club who had the men's, ladies, seniors, and junior captain who all started on 4 different days of the year. So at one point you go, so who's the captain? Oh, that's wasn't it? So where's the ladies captain? Oh, it's a different ladies captain. And you didn't know where you were, kind of things. So mate, just give them all on the same day. Give them the year if you want to do it that way, but make sure that they work alongside the captain. So the club I was talking about, well, I didn't name names for but a few years ago, their captain was very much right. I am going to make sure that we push junior golf within this club, and you've seen the benefits in the last 2 or 3 years of how many junior players are now coming through at the club. You see, so it's something which we are going to really touch on when we do some podcasts where we're going to actually speak to clubs and find out how they do that. But
I'd be very interested to find that out. Very interesting, because I do think with juniors you've got to keep their attention, and if you give it to somebody for say a year, for example, and I don't know. So this is why I'm putting it out there. I generally don't know. People might be screaming right now at the computer going, what the hell are you talking about, Ian? They're only captain for a month or so or whatever. But I know certainly in football, as you well know in football, Steve, very, very much, if you incentivise the kids each and every week, they could leave that day as captain, they're more likely to turn up, surely, rather than go, well, he's captain for the next 3 months, so it doesn't really matter if I don't bother turning up next week. I ain't going to be captain.
I'll tell you a story about a junior county match that I went to, whereby the junior organiser said to the captain of the day, said, right, well, when we have the match finishes and we do the meal, I'm going to get you to do a little speech, which I thought was great. The fact that this is an under 12s match. So this is an under 12s, giving them the opportunity to stand up in front of the rest of them and do a little speech just to say thank you, thank the caterers. So, but it was brilliant, the fact that they gave them the notice, right? You are going to have to do this after the match finishes, kind of thing. And it was a girls as well. It was a girls match as well, you see. So I thought that was lovely, the fact that give them the opportunity to have a little bit of responsibility, not overly. They didn't have to do too much. Certainly didn't have to organise who's playing with who or anything like that. But that was a little responsibility of the day, in the sense that, give you the opportunity just to, I mean, I don't know about you, but at the age of 10, 11, 12, I wouldn't have been overly keen on stood up in front of, kids, friends, people I'd never met before or just played golf against, and also parents and adults as well. So hats off to them.
No, but I'll tell you something. As you well know, certainly on Faldo Series they do it as well, don't they? The overall winner has to do a speech. And I saw at the English amateur and the English under-18 championships. The other winners do speeches, and they're fantastic. I'll tell you what, there's no fear at all in them at all. They're up there, and they know they've got to do it, and they get up and they do it, and they say all the right things, and fantastic. And that's part of it, isn't it?
I'll just show you a little example. This is my demonstration of what I saw at the Faldo series. And then read it out off her phone. I thought, oh, brilliant. I thought, oh, she'd wrote out her script on her phone while she was having a meal before waiting to do it. And I thought, oh, brilliant. I'm
going to show a little picture of what you saw at the Faldo series, Steve. Everybody who's ever been in the firing line, this is Steve taking this picture. Have a look at that. You were really in the firing line there, weren't you? That's coming straight towards you.
Yes, there's a story with this as well. Matt Faldo, who's Sir Nick's son, who organises the tour, he said to me, he says, I'm really keen for you to get photos on the first tee. And I said to him, look, I
bet he was from there. Blimey, does he not like you or something?
Yeah, well, this is it. You see, he kind of forgot what the hole is. Now, the hole it's a big dog leg. It's a big dog leg left to right, where there's water all down the right-hand side. And realistically, you have to aim on the left hand. You have to aim left. And then the slope takes it down, you see. Where I am stood to take that photo is pretty much where he is aiming. Now, unfortunately, first tee shot, a little bit nervous. He's a good player, so I'm not going to embarrass him too much. But it was closer to a shank than a decent shot, and that whizzed past my head. That was my first photo of the day. The second photo I can't show you, actually, because my hands were shaking so much that the photo didn't come out very well. But that was the first and only photo I took of the day, and then I went and stood somewhere completely separate. But
that was it for the day. Yeah, that's it. I'm done.
But that's part of the point as well. I know you're a big fan of putting a little bit of pressure on the kids, kind of thing, in the sense of that on that first tee it's not easy, No. And sticking a camera in your face is not going to help them, but at the same time it might get them used to it, for when they stood over the 18th, and Brocket Hall very well, the 18th, clearing that water when you've got cameramen, people watching, it's nervous enough as it is without
when you're stood greenside of the river, it looks very looks huge to green, doesn't it? As soon as you get over the other side of the water, it suddenly shrinks to about that big.
That's it.
Yes. But the thing is, you're absolutely right, Steve. And it's not a case of trying to catch the kids out. It's not a case of trying to put them under unnecessary pressure. It's a case of these are, Faldo series, and these. If you're playing at these levels that we're talking about, if you're playing Robert Brock Junior Tour, if you're playing, the Irish Junior Open Tour, if you're playing the British Par 3 Championship, you're playing the Faldo series, you're playing these events, you're a very good golfer, very good golfer, and you've got a chance. You've got a chance. And I assume that if you're playing those tours, that's a route that you seriously want to consider going down, is to become a professional golfer. And if that is a serious, viable option for you, you have to deal with media. But you're never going to deal with nicer media than us, because we're going to be nice to you. We're not going to ask you any difficult questions. We're just going to be nice to you. We're going to try and put you at ease. But then you've got to deliver with a camera in front of your face. And we all know how hard it is stood on the first tee, even with our mates stood on the first tee under no pressure whatsoever, is the worst feeling in the world, isn't it? Because you do not want to shank that opening tee shot. If you do it on the second or third, that's fine, because there's not so many people around to watch. Don't do it on the first.
No, and I'll tell you a story about the same tournament as well. And you may remember this because we had a bit of a conversation on air when we were there. Is the fact that I deliberately went and stood on the second hole. I thought I'll stay around the second hole. And the second hole is a beautiful par 3 over the water, and I think there was around about something like 35 groups who went through that hole, and I was stood around that green for around about 15-20 groups, and I thought, right, I better move on to a different spot just so I can get some different photos. The next 6 groups, there was 2 hole-in-ones on that hole.
Yeah. How many times I always do a hole-in-one hunting feature. I've been doing live golf for over 2 years now. Never ever caught a hole-in-one live, ever.
No.
I'm always in the wrong place at the wrong time, despite the fact that I usually go to the best, the shortest par 3, the most accessible par 3, spend a good hour there. Never ever caught one. Come very close a few times, and literally been at a hole, gone off, cut the broadcast off right at the back live somewhere else out on the course at the 18th or something, only to find out 15 minutes later there was a hole in one stood. You're like,
I know. And that's it. And that's it. But as you know, with Brocket Hall, fortunately, the third hole and the fourth hole kind of like loop back on each other and come past the second hole. So I managed to grab one of the players and said, just walk over to the second hole, pick your ball out the hole as if you're doing it, kind of thing. And I got a photo of him with the ball and doing that kind of thing. And then
it's not real now, though, Steve. You just told everybody it's not real.
Okay, well that's the fake. That's the fake bit. The bit which was real was the fact that when he got back in the clubhouse, there was a guy there by the name of Sir Nick Faldo, and he was there. So I got a photo of him with Nick with the ball and everything. You see, so to talk about making. That's it. So talking about making memories from events, and that is part of it from my point of view as being a journalist and going along taking photos is that you can give kids those memories from the events, and that's part of what Progress Junior Golf does. We take photos and give kids the opportunity just to hopefully not just them but also the parents as well for years to come to say, I remember that was just a wonderful day that was.
Well, do you know what, Steve? You've just led us in absolutely perfectly there to the next segment, which is, of course, where we are going to find out more about Progress Junior Golf. Now, you just said there, of course, it's photos and that side of things is part of it, but there's a lot more to it, isn't there? Care to explain a little bit more about Progress Junior Golf?
Yeah, I mean, basically, it was a website I set up just over a year ago, just pre-pandemic, basically, and it was. Actually, it was last year. So it was last year. It's only just been this last year. So it was after the pandemic had started, and the idea is that I'd worked a lot in covering junior events. I'd worked with the Shires Junior Golf Tour, which is a tour in Bedfordshire, Leicestershire, and Northamptonshire. I'd worked with the British Junior Golf Tour. Done some things with them. Done some photography work with Robert Rock, and also worked with a few county golf unions and helping them out with some of the things that they were doing, and I noticed that that a lot of good things were being done, but also there was some let's not say mistakes being made, but there were things which they could inevitably make a little bit better. There was perhaps the biggest one was the communication. My issue with junior opens was the fact that you would have 2 junior opens take place consecutive weeks, and you'd see the field, and one of them might have 25 players playing in it, and 12 of them were from the home club. And then you go to the next event, and it would have 25 players on it, 12 of them from the home club, and the 12, neither of them played in the other event. You just think, well, if the 2 clubs have spoke to each other, you could have increased your field by 12 players, or perhaps 8, 9, 10, or whatever, just by you going, right, why don't you play in my event and we'll play in your event? You see, so the coordination between clubs, and that's where the selfishness can come in the sense that they could think, well, if I promote my junior open, or if I send my kids to another junior open, they're going to think, oh, I want to go and join that club. Well, that's very, very insular way of looking at it.
Highly unlikely, and it's very unlikely, really.
Yeah, and you're not going to gain anything by doing that, So the whole idea is to try and get more kids playing more competitions. And that's just the junior opens. There's things like junior teams as well, competitions outside clubs. And I came together, basically, there's 11 points that I came up with whereby I go into a golf club and I'm going to say, right, look at these points. So course and practice facilities at the golf club, is your course set up for a junior golfer? The question earlier was whether clubs take it seriously of whether they really want junior golfers there. Well, if you've got a 7, 8, 9-year-old kid, I don't know how you were when we might come to this with myself kind of thing when you grew up, but I grew up with a set of golf clubs which were adult golf clubs. Now I'm short anyway, so it's hard enough for me, by the time we got to about 15, 16, 17, that was only that point that I actually have a set of golf clubs which fitted me. So things like, and I was also playing off the yellow tees or the white tees, the same as all the adults. So a par, so the opening hole and it was a little 9-hole course that I was brought up on. The first hole was 150-yard par 3, and I think it took me about 2 years before I could actually hit a club far enough to actually reach the green. There was a par 4 there which was 402 yards. I don't think I wouldn't hit it in 2. Yeah. So there are ways.
Still don't, do you, Steve?
You so they go, sorry?
Still don't, do you?
Well, no, that's it. Well. play with the ladies' tees now. So no.
Not ladies' tees anymore. It's changing.
No, that's it. No, but on the subject of tees, though, get some tees out there which are forward. Get them on tees which you have a. So the event that I ran earlier in the year at Wellingborough, we had a 150-yard competition. So we put them off 150-yard holes. So it was 100. So it was about 80, 90 yards for a par 3, 130, 140 for a par 4, and then about 180 yards for a par 5. So we give them the opportunity to have pars, birdies, eagles, and the standard was fantastic from those players. And they were coming in with scores over 9 holes of 23, 24 points, which is a lot better than coming in when you got a score of 3-4 points. And you think, well, what was the point of that? So you can work on course facilities, practice facilities, clubhouse facilities, membership packages for juniors. There are ways whereby you can give them an incentive. I know there are clubs who've done free memberships on occasions for a full year, in particular with this last year with the pandemic, in the sense of, where you couldn't play golf until April. And then as soon as the course opened, it was absolutely jam packed. Couldn't get a tee time. You were at school or whatever. So therefore, there were some clubs who halved the membership fee for the year. So simple things like that. Coaching, that's a big one. Which I'm not an expert. I've never had a golf lesson in my life. And you mentioned it. But there's good junior coaching and there's bad junior coaching, and that's not meant to disrespect some coaches out there, because we all had good teachers at school. A good teacher at the age of a 7-year-old is a very different good teacher to a 16, 17-year-old. So there are different types of teaching you need from different ages. Like I say, a junior team, a junior open, club competitions, trying to get players to play in competitions outside the club. The social side of things at clubs. It's not just about playing golf. It's also about, whether you, I know for a club just down the road from me, whereby during the winter they do rules quizzes. So just to try and make it fun, the rules learning side of it kind of thing. So simple things like that. The staff at a club, how they deal with juniors, because dealing with a junior is a very, very different animal than dealing with an adult. Once again, I'm not going to name clubs on this, but I was in a golf club with two 16-year-olds. This was about 3 years ago. One of them played off 1 and one of them played off 3. So decent players. The person behind the bar came up to them and said, "You do realise you were wearing the wrong shoes," kind of thing. And you just like, and it was said in a nice way. It wasn't, but it was just kind of, take a step back. It's a 15-year-old, okay, and they apologized and said, "Oh, sorry, I didn't realise the rules of the clubhouse," things like that. But you just kind of like, Do
you know what though, Steve? When I was a lad, and I know things are changing now for the better in my eyes. Now, I don't agree with walking around in football shirts and trackies and stuff like that around the golf club. However, golf is a sport, and one of the things that used to put me off a lot was the fact that if I wanted to go out to dress smart, and I'll be honest that I was like a 9-year-old kid. I didn't want to dress smart. I wanted to, back in 1994 when I was 9, I wanted to wear my shell suit, But I didn't want to have to go and wear trousers and a collar. If I was going to do that, I was like, I'll just go play football instead then, because I'm going to just chuck a pair of shorts and a t-shirt on. No one cares. That was what bugged, and that was a barrier at that age, because I didn't want to have to do that on a Sunday morning, Saturday morning, or whatever. And as soon as you can do something else, you go do something else. And I know things are changing for the better in my eyes, because golf really does, it has had to do something. And we talk about retention at the top of this show, saying they've got all these new members coming in. Fantastic. For the love of God, get with the times, because if you don't, they're going to disappear very, very, very quickly. And, I don't want to see golf clubs closing. Really don't.
Well, I remember the first ever 18-hole golf course that I ever played. I think I was 11 or 12, and I was told that I had to wear golf shoes with spikes on. It's the first time I'd ever worn golf shoes with spikes on before, because my local 9-hole golf course was a council golf course. Turn up with whatever you wanted to wear, kind of thing, And I was almost terrified turning up there, it just didn't feel natural. And is that a reason why I never joined a golf club as a junior? Possibly. And that's what I want to avoid.
It's not to do with junior golf, but funny enough, I did the English Amateur Champs earlier this year up at Moortown and in Leeds, and my mum just lives in Harrogate. I'm down south now, so I don't see her a great deal. And I said to her, look, I'm up there. Why don't you come over and have a drink? And she's like, oh, am I allowed? I was like, what do you mean, are you allowed? She's like, well, am I allowed to come to the golf club? I didn't think you're allowed to go into golf clubs. Now, this is, I won't say her age, but, I'm 36. So, she had me at 30 to do your maths. And this is somebody who's that age still now thinking, I'm not allowed in golf club unless I'm a member or unless I'm prim and proper in this. So what are you talking about? The team at Moortown was so nice. They're like, oh yeah, you tell her to come down for God's sake, have a drink, have this, have a nice time. They were brilliant. They were just absolutely on point. But it's that perception, and it still exists, and it will still exist for the next 10 years. That perception is terrifying because people don't think that they can just go. They think, oh, everyone's going to look down at me, or if I'm not dressed like I'm about to go out for the poshest dinner ever, then they won't let me in. You can just go to your golf club and have a drink or have something to eat. You're allowed to do that. So go do it. Support them.
Absolutely.
You don't have to play golf either. Just go down and just have a good time.
And my last point kind of like sums up everything which you just said there and all the things I've just mentioned, and that's the promotion as well. The promotion of junior golf and the promotion of golf as a whole, to say it is all inclusive. And there are, you might have some issues in the sense that there might be some rules which you just need to be aware of. But as long as it's not a barrier and stop you from going into, and even those clubs, I'll tell you a great story then. And this is I organised a junior event at a golf course. Once again, I'm not going to mention names here, but they had their club captain. There was an issue with the Wi-Fi for the event, and it was taking a bit too long for the results to go through on the computer. So it was a bit of a delay. So a lot of the parents would turn up to pick the kids up and having to wait around. Now these parents were just turning up wearing jeans. Their club captain was stood there telling off the parents for what they were wearing. Yeah. Right. A week later, that golf club changed their clothing policy because they were so ashamed of their club captain.
Yeah.
That club, like I said, I'm not going to mention names, but it's one of the most prestigious golf clubs in this country, hosting some of the very biggest events. And they did that on the back of a junior event. And I think that's how sometimes juniors can actually lead adults.
Well, it's the parents who will be paying the kids subs. So,
yes.
And
let me tell you, and the membership there is not cheap. So, yes.
They will turn around and be, hang on, I'm paying you a lot of money. So if you're going to talk to me like that, we're off elsewhere. So, I'm kind of, I get that, totally get that. Look, we talk about the website a little bit. It is running across the bottom as well. I don't know if people can see that. That's the right way, isn't it? Yeah, because I'm looking at the screen. I'm like opposite. There it is. www.progressjuniorgolf.com. Do go check it out. There's also a link in the body of this broadcast. Well, wherever you're watching, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, wherever, there's a link in the body of the broadcast taking you straight to that website. So do go check it out. A couple of images to show off the site as well. There's some nice photos in there as well. Fallow series photos as well. There we go. Look at that. So you can browse through those. And of course, this is the organizer, isn't it? This is the event organizer. There's a list of tours. If you do actually organize a junior event, do get in touch with Steve as well to get it listed on this website. So I'm sure you'll be happy to do that with you, Steve, or have I just thrown you under the bus?
Yeah. So just to give you a bit of background there. So therefore, on this website there, I put on all the junior competitions which are out there for kids to go and play in. So not internal competitions, because obviously, if you're a club member at a club, then a junior from another club might not be able to play in that competition. So these are events whereby you can go and play in, whether it's a British Junior Golf Tour event, whether it's Robert Rock, whether it's the Northern Junior Golf Tour, whether it's some great photos there, by the way.
What day is it then?
Who knows? Yeah. But these also junior opens, county events, national events over in Ireland as well. So events whereby, you might be on holiday in Scotland and you think to yourself, actually, I'd love to have a round of golf. I wonder if there's a competition up there in Scotland. So you can go, so you can look at different tours. You can also look at different regions. You look at different times of the year. So I think the events, so bearing in mind that last year was obviously last year with everything which went on, I think there was 1,200 events on that website that I put on there.
Wow. Blimey.
Yeah, it's taken me a while because obviously now I'm going to have to, well, it should be easier now because obviously now the ones which are on there last year, in theory, should stay be on again this year. So it's just a case of just changing the date and venues on some occasions. But there's loads on there. So there are events for people to go and play in. And there's different types of events as well. So, for example, it tries to give a little of an indication of you know. So you meant the Fowler Series for your better players, your lower handicappers, the Northern Junior Golf Tour. That's probably obviously more regionalised, and also for hey, we don't want the not better players to go and play in it, but it does attract. It's got 9-hole competitions, so it's got events which are suitable for different types of players. There were some boys only competitions, there were some girls only competitions. There are also a few adult and junior events which I know that will be, as we mentioned with Tiger and his son. You know, they look like great fun to play, and I know the British Junior Golf Tour in particular, they've put on a couple of for this year coming up. I think one of them actually is part of the British Par 3 Championship. I know that they have an event there. So different types of events for different people, and it should have all the contact details on there as well. So you don't come through me to find out about the event. You just go to their own website. You can see their own schedule, but it's a one only stop. You can find out where all these events are. And that was my biggest frustration, in the sense of, where do I find out? I was hearing from parents saying, well, I didn't even know there was a competition on, you know, and they would have to go on to a particular website, one website, right? So are there any events in, I don't know, Northumberland? Right, do I have to go through all 30 golf clubs in Northumberland to find out whether they've got a junior open on? No, let's go to one website, Northumberland, what events are on, you see. So I do the background for you, in the sense of I find out where the events are taking place, when they're taking place. You just go on there and you just get your names down for them.
The one-stop shop, isn't it? So if you are a golf club and you're watching this right now and you have junior events, get in touch with this man. Over here. Yeah. Get in touch with him. Go to his website or just comment below. Steve will pick it up and get in touch with you as well. Just have it on. Do you charge to put stuff on, Steve, or is it free?
No, absolutely free. Yep. And it was interesting, actually. There's a schools competition which I think we're hopefully going to talk to in the next few weeks or so, because they've got their first event coming up for second week in February. They sent me a tweet saying, "Here's our schedule," and I emailed them back straight away saying, "I've already put it on there." So I'd already beaten them to it, you see. So and then they go, well, and then there was one I spotted, and I was like, "Oh, where's that one come from?" Like you said, and I said, "Oh, I missed one." Like you said, and they said, "Well, to be fair, we only put it on 24 hours ago." So okay, so it's fairly up to date, shall we say? Fairly up to date.
That's what I like to hear. Now, Steve, moving forward as well, what we're normally going to do with the guests, the very special guests, and perhaps slightly more A-list guests, we are going to quiz them on the rules of golf. As well. I'm not going to do that with you because
I don't know the rules.
I want to put you on a spot. However, I do want to ask you a quick question. I want to know: have you ever been playing some people, whether you know them or you just turned up and managed to get a tee time, so you're playing with people you don't know? Have you ever been playing and you've seen your competitors or your playing partners cheating on purpose? They're cheating, but they don't admit it. And they clearly shot a 6, but they've put a 5 down. You know, have you ever seen it?
Not in junior golf, fortunately. So that's a start.
Good.
I have seen it. I've been in a situation where I've played in in inverted commas, a friendly 4-ball, where we played 2 against 2, and my playing partner, we were both walking. The other 2 were in a buggy. And he said to me, "How come every single time they hit it in the rough, they find their ball, and when we hit it in the rough, we don't?" So obviously the inclination here is that, you know, they're cheating and we're not, kind of thing. And it got to the stage whereby, and this is God's honest truth, it got to the stage whereby they hit a tee shot and he ran down the fairway and he got to where he thought the ball was, before their buggy got there. And of course, they didn't find it that time. So that was it. Concrete proof they were cheating, you know. I mean, it wasn't the case. But you know how it is with a round of golf is that, you know, it's a social game. On one fairway, one hole, me and you might walk down the middle of the fairway, a bit of a chat. Next hole, it might be me and one of the other playing partners. So on one hole, I'm getting it from my playing partner saying they're cheating. Next hole, I'm getting it from them saying your playing partners are accusing us cheating. You know, and it's going all the way around. And I've got to say, count on one hand the amount of times I've not enjoyed a round of golf, and that was one of them. And that was because, yeah, and it's not nice when you are being accused of cheating. I have to mention as well the lad who got the hole-in-one over in Ireland. There was a few comments on Twitter about his hole-in-one, saying about magic pencil and things like that. And I thought that was bang out of order. You know, that's a kid who's just got a hole-in-one the first time he'd ever done one in his life, and you're trying to make out as if he's cheating. And I thought, you know, that says more about you than it does about the lad.
I think, unfortunately, Steve, that's just sport in general. If somebody does something exceptional, the immediate from some people is no, that can't be legit. You know, it's not just golf that happens, and it's all sport, isn't it? If something looks something exceptional happens, somebody does something amazing in sport, then a lot of people straight away think, there's something dodgy going on. And do you know what? Amazing things do happen in sport, as you know, being a Leicester City fan. So
absolutely,
it can happen.
Yeah, yeah. And it certainly won't never happen again with Leicester. But you know, and credit to the lad kind of thing, in the sense if it didn't ruin his day, and it hasn't ruined, you know, and well done as well to the tour who immediately, you know, knocked that on the head and said, no, this is legit. This is a proper, really well done, and I'm pleased for him, the tour, and you know that we can say this on air now in this podcast that's not right.
Right, Steve. I'm assuming you play junior golf, right? Is that correct?
I started playing when I was around about 10. Yes.
Okay, so I've got front nine quiz. It's
okay.
9 quick fire questions about your experience in junior golf. Now we're going to do this with every single guest as well. As we said before, we're going to have some pretty high profile guests on. I'll let Steve reveal all of that in time, of course. But for Steve Jackson, question number 1: how did you start playing golf?
Like a lot. It was my dad used to play. He thought it was a good way of me getting out a bit of fresh air. It was just a little 9-hole golf course. We used to go, I think, usually on a Tuesday night, just went from there and fell in love with the game, even though I had no idea how to play it. Like I say, never had a lesson in my life, so everything has been learned on the job.
You kind of answered this one a little bit earlier, but I'm going to ask you again. Your first set of golf clubs, what were they? Can you remember? You said they were adult clubs.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you one story I do remember. I remember we did buy another set of golf clubs, and my dad went off to work or whatever, and then I came back and I'm like, Jesus, this guy sold us with 2 clubs short. There's 2 missing. So I told my dad this. He took it round to this bloke's house kind of thing and said, you know, why have you say? And then he lifted the head cover up, and the 2 of them had fitted underneath one of the head covers by accident, like you say. So I wasn't particularly popular with my dad. The fact that, oops, yeah. But you can imagine in those days. So this would have been mid-80s, late 80s. You can imagine the golf clubs in those days, slightly different from the ones today, shall we say?
Ever so slightly, yes. Probably. Might have had wooden heads in those days then, Steve, right?
Yes. I'll tell you what my favourite golf club was. That was the 1-iron. I used to love the 1-iron, like hitting it like Sandy Io.
If you can hit it, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
Struggle with the 2-iron. In fact, I don't even own a 2-iron. It's a hybrid 3-wood these days for me. Right. When did you know that you could or couldn't play golf?
Yeah. Well, I was very fortunate. Whenever I used to go away on holiday, my dad always used to make sure that he'd had one good holiday a year. So we always used to go overseas somewhere. And I was very, very fortunate in, I know the year for certain because it was 1990 and it was in Kenya. And the reason why I know is because I was on safari in the middle of nowhere when England played against Germany in the World Cup semi-final. No television, so I didn't
How
see
old
the
were
game.
you?
I was
How
15
old
and
were you?
missed the biggest game England had played for years and years and years because I was in the middle of the safari. But anyway, but I remember we played golf when we were out there just so we could have a round of golf. And I remember on this hole pulling it into the trees on the left hand side and having no shot to the green whatsoever, and thinking to myself, if I hit this and manage to hit the worst hook possible, I can hook it around the tree and it'll go somewhere near the green. And my dad was walking down the middle of the fairway and I said, Dad, stop. Move back. I'm going to aim at you. And I hit this hook shot perfectly onto the green. And I just thought to myself, I can play golf, because like I say, without any lessons whatsoever, I could hit a shot deliberately. And the reason why I remember that now is because I've only played two. Fortunately played in the Czech Republic this year. And I did the same thing on one hole. I hit a left to right tee shot. And then in the middle of the fairway, I said to my playing partner, I'm going to prove to you that I can now hit this right to left and hit a hook down the middle of the fairway. And I just thought to myself, even now, I remember back from when I was 15 in Kenya, the fact that I can still hit a left to right and a right to left.
So
I can only do it once every 100 times, but at least I can do it once. Isn't that the beauty of golf? The fact that every so often you can hit a shot as good as Tiger Woods can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you say, about 1 in every 100 shots, and yeah. Right. Next question: what lessons did you learn as a junior golfer?
Well, like I say, I didn't have any golf lessons as such, but I suppose some of the things I learned was I remember once playing a round of golf with one golf ball in my bag.
Wow.
Yeah, and that concentrates the mind when I get to the furthest part of this course, where there's the water on this hole, if it goes in the water, I'm walking back.
Did you get it out of the bag or did you just walk around the course?
Yeah, that's it. I just walked the course, yeah. Let me tell you, I played 7 rounds of golf with that one ball in my bag.
7 rounds? Wow.
7 rounds of golf, yep. And
that is impressive. You could play golf.
I can tell you why, because it was, you remember back when, how bad the golf balls were then. It couldn't go far enough for it to get into any trouble. So...
Oh, it can always go far enough to get in some trouble. Even if it's just rough, just 3 feet off to the right.
Yeah.
Right. I'm not going to ask you 5 because you've already answered that. Best golf shot as a junior. We just heard that in Kenya, of course.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yes. Yep.
Best junior golfer played with or against. This could be.
Yeah. Well, I was very fortunate that I played with Charlie Hull. When she was 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, played lots of different rounds of her golf with her. That was something pretty special just to see her at that age and how good she was, and obviously went on to become probably the best golf shot I've ever seen a junior golfer was at Wellingborough, which the 18th hole there is a par 4. It's about 240 yards, danger all over the place, out of bounds right, water left. If you clear the green by about 5 yards, you're out of bounds. And they normally have a nearest to pin in 2 on that hole. My playing partner won the nearest to pin in 2 with his drive.
Wow.
Yeah, that was pretty special. This 15-year-old, he just had no fear whatsoever, just got a 3-wood out and just went smack and put it to 2 feet.
Wow, incredible!
And hold it as well for an eagle. And you just thought, yeah, well done.
Don't you hate him?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I did. Well, no, it was on my team, so it was whatever it was, 5 points in the bag. Eh?
You can put the cards back in and let him carry on.
That's it. Yeah.
Right. So, who would be your perfect 4-ball? One of them's got to be a junior.
Well, so assuming I'm one of them, I would say. I suppose it's got to be Tiger because you'd love to see him in action. If you're talking a junior, I would like to have seen. I tell you what, let's say Tiger as a junior because I'd love to have played with as a junior.
So Tiger in his prime.
No,
Tiger as a junior.
No, we'll go with Rory. We'll go with Rory. Well, yeah. Why not? Yeah. Actually, let's go with that. Yeah.
Tiger.
You can come along and caddy for them.
I tell you what, if you're playing with Tiger Woods, I will won't even caddy. I'll make his tea for him or something. I'll clean the dirt out of his shoes.
In a
with my
weird
tongue.
way, it would be fascinating to see Tiger young, peak, and now, and perhaps not now because obviously with his injury, but let's hope in 6 months or a year or so now, and just see how much of a wow, what it would have been to play alongside him when he was when you think this kid could be pretty good when he's the greatest of all time, and then now where he can talk about those type of experiences he's had and explain. Wouldn't it be fascinating just to have that conversation with Tiger, talking to Tiger young, as he probably did with Charlie, trying to explain some of the things that
it could be happening right now, as you say. It could be be happening. I mean, Charlie Woods is, he can hit a golf ball, can't he? And he's the world is his oyster, really. Question probably 8 probably doesn't really matter too much to you, Steve, because you haven't had coaching or lessons or anything. The best piece of advice you ever received as a junior golfer. Did your dad give you any good advice? No,
my dad was hopeless at golf.
Right.
No, I tell you what the best piece of advice I had as a junior, and it was pretty simple, and that was there are worse places to be than out here on a golf course. So just stick your head up and enjoy it, kind of thing. And in the like I knew I was never going to be good enough to be a golfer, kind of thing. But I wasn't lying me saying about you can count on one hand the amount of times I've not enjoyed a round of golf, and it has nothing to do with how well I play or badly I play. It could be. I played in horrendous weather and still enjoyed it. I played with. Like I say, I played with those people who accusing each other of cheating. I played with some pretty nasty people. I played in a pro-am once where in a celebrity am once where my celebrity walked off after 9 holes.
Who was it?
That would be Well, if I told you that you're more famous than he is, says everything about that celebrity.
Blimey, they're not a celebrity then.
That's it. Yeah. It was a singer, and I'm like. Really?
Was it some X Factor or Pop World singer or something?
Yeah. So, and then the irony about it is that when he walked off, the 3 playing partners just looked at each other and went, "Actually, a lot more fun now because he was a miserable sod as he was going round." So, but there you go.
That was probably one of the funniest things you've seen on the golf course, because that's question 9.
No, the funniest thing I've seen. The funniest thing was I saw a professional golfer hit a shot from 200 yards, hit a 200, or let's say 210 yards then, hit the 200-yard marker and be 260 yards from the green. He managed to hit the 200-yard marker, flush straight in the face, and went straight over the top of his head. Yeah.
Brutal.
The other one as well is I played in a pro-am at Woburn where I played with a former Ryder Cup player who hit a shank. Now, you couldn't laugh at the time because obviously he wasn't particularly impressed with what he'd just done. But afterwards...
It happens. It happens. I've seen a few shank one or two years.
I think one of the things he said was you didn't see that, did you? And I'm like, you do realise you're playing with 3 journalists, and I don't know how many times I've told that story now. So there you go. And I've just said it now on a podcast. So.
There you go. Who was it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
One of these days, I'm going to get these answers out of you.
And also, he had a junior caddying for him, and it whizzed past his junior's head, kind of thing. And I'm like, Jesus, that wouldn't have looked good if you'd have killed your caddy.
Oh dear. Well, look, Steve, that wraps up episode 1. What can I say? What's coming up?
Well, we've got the big one next week. Whether it's next week or a couple of weeks' time, but the next one we're going to talk about live golf.
Oh, live.
So we're going to talk live junior golf and how can we get out there and watch it? So, any ideas? Do you know anyone who provides that kind of thing?
I'll see. I know a few people. I might be able to have a word with.
Yeah, no, and all seriousness, we're going to have a chat with you about junior golf and about getting live coverage out there, because we see how many shows are there on Sky Sports Golf? How many of them do we actually see any junior golf out there? We don't know, and it's something which needs to be addressed, because as we saw with Tiger and his son Charlie, there's two reasons why people were watching that. One of them was because Tiger was back, and two of them was because his son was playing.
People watched it because of Tiger and Charlie. That's it.
That's it. So there's a pretty damn good reason there to say junior golf is massive, and we should be having more live coverage of it. And you do that, but let's find out more about it. And let's find out when you started playing golf and your first set of golf clubs. And
oh yeah, I had some cracking clubs. I'll tell you all about them next week. So the idea, hopefully, is calendars match up. We'll do it next Wednesday. That's the 12th of January, 8 p.m. Again, wherever you've been watching tonight, you can watch it again. Thank you, Steve, so much. I really, really, really did actually enjoy that. That was fantastic. Don't forget, there's still a link in the body of this broadcast to Progress Junior Golf's website. Do give it a click. It is running across the bottom as well. I have to, because I'm opposite to which way it's running, because I'm looking at it. It's really difficult. There it is. www.progressjuniorgolf.com. Do give it a click. If you're a golf club, you've got junior events happening, get in contact with this man over here, Steve Jackson. His website is free to use. Get your tournaments listed. Work with Steve. It is fantastic. Steve, thank you so much. That's it. Don't know what to say.
Absolutely.
Done.
More to come.
Yeah. More to come. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you, fingers crossed, all being well. We'll be back live next week.